what is a successful run for Tennessee in Omaha?
Well, I could say winning it all. I think if you get 2 wins out of there.
Tennessee baseball making back-to-back trips to Omaha for the College World Series. But, I mean, before we even dive into that, I need to properly introduce you as the Gary Lundy Sports Writer of the Year. In case we were not aware, you got the award on Monday.
Yeah, that's an honor for me because I was really, really good friends with Gary Lundy. We worked at competing newspapers for a few years, and then when the Knoxville Journal folded, the Knoxville News Sentinel hired Gary, and I was all about that. Great guy and great sports writer, just a tremendous person, and they named this award after him. And it means even more to me to win an honor that's named after him. So, and there are 2 divisions in the category. There's the daily newspapers, of which I don't write. I write for a website. So there are 2 categories, and I won it in the category of which I was eligible to enter. But it was very humbling to win that award named after Gary Lundy.
Yes, and if you can kind of channel those old days of you guys together, what would be maybe his take or the take that you guys would have together on Tennessee making its run in the College World Series?
Yeah, Gary'd be very impressed with it. And he was one of these. He had a unique sense of humor. He also was so perceptive. He'd pick up things during the course of a game, football or basketball, that I would not know about, that wouldn't catch, and he would come at different angles. But with this baseball team, he would love what they've done. He would be very impressed with them, and I would think he would forgive me for the fact that many years ago we were covering the SEC football media days in Birmingham, and I ran over his foot in the car.
Oh no!
But he survived. So I didn't know he got out of the car.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
That had to have been quite painful.
It hurt him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I would not let you forget that happened if that was me.
Well, he was gracious about it, but I said, Gary, I didn't know you got out of the car. He said, well, I guess I should have told you.
Oh my goodness. Well, when we look at Tennessee and maybe what's most impressive about what they've done, they've crushed 170 home runs, surpassing their 2022 mark by a wide margin. Then you have an FSU team that they're facing on Friday that has 123 home runs. They also have at least 4 starters with an OPS of greater than 1,000. What's the greatest challenge when you're going up against 2 teams that have quality power hitters like that?
Well, I think for Tennessee, to me, their biggest challenge is this. They're facing a great pitcher. Mm-hmm. The first 2 World Series appearances under Tony Vitello, they faced a guy named Abbott at Virginia, and he shut them out through 6 innings. And then they went against the best pitcher in baseball, Paul Skeens at LSU. He shut them down. He didn't shut them out, but he shut them down. And so they started out by losing the first game each of the 2 years under Vitello when they went to Omaha. Now they're going against another great pitcher at Florida State, a guy with a 277 earned run average. He's got 155 strikeouts and about 100 innings pitched. They got to find a way to score some runs. And to me, Tennessee's starting pitching's not great. It's pretty good, but they start a reliever and then come in with Causey, right? Xander Seacrest has given them a tremendous year. Drew Beam is a solid pitcher, but he's not a great pitcher. So that's a little bit of a concern from Tennessee's perspective. You mentioned Florida State with 123 home runs. That's pretty darn good.
Yes.
But it just pales by comparison to the 173, and that's the second most in the history of college baseball. Only LSU, which had 188 in 1997, is better. So it's abnormal. Nobody in college has every starter with 10 home runs.
Right.
Nobody does
Yeah.
that. But Tennessee's done it.
And Dalton Bargo, after Game 3, is only like 1 or 2 home runs behind, and then all your usual starters have 10 or more.
Yeah, so that's an impressive list for Tennessee. This is the best hitting team Tennessee has taken to Omaha under Vitello. I believe the best team he had didn't even make it to Omaha. But and they were successful, by the way.
They were.
and Tony Vitello will remind you they were successful if you didn't know. But I do think that just being able to score some runs off of Florida State's pitcher, that's going to be the big challenge for Tennessee, is to not get dominated by a great opposing pitcher.
Yeah, and it's not their usual Friday starter either. They're looking at starting Jamie Arnold, who you're talking about. He has 7 strikeouts before he gives up a walk. Like, that's an insane ratio. I mean, AJ Causey is just about 6 strikeouts to a walk for Tennessee going up against Jamie Arnold. I mean, what's the challenge when you got a guy that pretty much throws nothing but strikes?
Yeah, and here's what I would expect Arnold early. He's going to be tough to hit. Watch the second time around. Once they get a look at him and they have an opportunity in the maybe third, fourth, fifth inning, I think that's going to be the key. When you get a look at a pitcher, a lot of times right off the bat, you hadn't seen him unless he's dominant like Skeens. It's tough to figure him out right away. It's tough to see those pitches when you haven't. You can't really simulate that in practice. But the second time around, once you've had an idea about what he throws, which also is one reason I think Tennessee goes with Stamos, they don't want a second time around for batters to see what he does. So that's why he pitches about 1 2/3 or 2 innings, whatever. So I'd be curious to see if they can get to him. But and now you got one of the greatest leadoff hitters in baseball, probably the best leadoff hitter in baseball, in Christian Moore. Maybe he can. I don't know. He's jacked a lot of home runs with his first at bat,
I think
hasn't he?
32. Yeah.
Ray Varner Ford in Clinton, your East Tennessee Ford dealership with great deals on the Ford Escape, the Ford Edge, and the F-250.
And I think if you're looking for confidence in the team, let's take the recent weekends, right? You have the regionals and super regionals. All of those games for Tennessee were won in such completely different ways. It started with, the top of the order going like 0 of 13, I think at one point. It was actually the middle and the bottom of the order that was powering Tennessee to a win. And then you get to supers and you're going up against kind of like a Cinderella team at Evansville, who was really playing with house money, had nothing to lose, able to get a Game 2 win. And I think if Tennessee can learn anything from Evansville's mentality is to stay present, to have fun, to be loose, because the worst thing you can do at the plate is be tense and overthink it and overcorrect. And I think as long as Tennessee stays within themselves, I think they'll have a lot of Game 3s like they did against Evansville throughout the tournament, because they now have that experience where they can act like you've been here before. Like, keep your cool about you, keep your wits about you.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said for experience. And there's a lot to be said for the success of this team. So you've got confidence, you've got experience, and I think that can take them a long way. Now, the pitching is going to be really interesting. Tennessee does not have a dominant starter. They don't have a Paul Skeens. They don't have a Jamie Arnold. They don't have an Abbott like the guy at Virginia that shut them down 3 years ago. They have solid pitching. Xander Seacrest was marvelous against Evansville. Drew Beam is a solid pitcher. If they get to, I'll be curious to see if they start Stamos and then come in with Causey.
That's what Vitello said in the presser, that it's business as usual. They're going to go with Stamos, yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see how that works out with the pitching. That to me is a bigger concern than the hitting. I think, and by the way, I saw an interesting stat I thought I'll share. Tennessee has been in 5 games in which they allowed the opponent to score at least 10 runs, 5 of them. Tennessee's 2-3 in those games. They beat Georgia, 16-11. They beat Kentucky like 13-11, something crazy like that. Yeah. And the other 3 that they lost, well, one of them was 16-2 to Georgia. But to think that in 5 games you gave up at least 10 runs and you won 2 of them, that tells me this team, they're so capable of just putting up crooked numbers on the scoreboard a lot of times. Yeah. So even if the pitching falters a little bit, I still think they have enough bats to overcome it.
They are a pitching staff by committee. They're still number 2 in the nation. They still have, almost 2.5 strikeouts.
In team ERA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they almost have, 2.5 strikeouts per walk that they give up. So, and I think the best part about it is while Beam and Xander have the most starts, they have 17 starts each. AJ Causey has 13 wins, which is 4th most in Tennessee program history. I think it's 2nd in the nation in wins. They're a pitching staff by committee. If you look at what they did in the SEC tournament, Dylan Loy was phenomenal when he had his appearance from relief in the SEC championship game against LSU. Banky has really come along. Aaron Combs, I mean, what jam can he not get out of? It seems like, bases loaded, 8th, 9th inning, it doesn't matter. He always has ice in his veins, and I think that will be the strength for Tennessee, because it's always like, oh, it's a really weird weekend. You play a Friday and a Sunday. Maybe you're not going to play that Saturday. How do you use your arms? Tennessee has plenty of arms, and he made sure, especially during the SEC tournament, to get reps for his guys in that sense. And I think that will give this team a lot of confidence this weekend.
This team will not overwhelm you with their starters, but there were some bullpen numbers that I saw that I thought were very impressive. The bullpen, and they may have as good or as deep a bullpen as any team in the country. Mm-hmm. Their bullpen's 39-6 this year.
I believe it, yeah.
Their
Which sounds insane, but yes.
Their ERA from the bullpen is 3.42. All right, and they've got 18 saves from the bullpen, which ties the school record.
Oh wow.
That's dynamite. That's incredible what this bullpen has done. So, and it could be one of 8 that come out of the pen. And you mentioned a lot of names, but there are a bunch of guys that could come out and get the job done. Nate Snead being one of them.
Yes.
So I really like the bullpen. If they get into a 5-5 game and it's in the 5th inning, I really like Tennessee's chances because I trust their bullpen, and I also think the bats against the opponent's bullpen will light up.
Yeah.
So I like Tennessee in that regard, but the bullpen has just been fantastic, and that's a credit to Frank Anderson, and I'm sure there's a joint decision on whether you leave somebody in or not.
Yeah.
So with Tony Vitello and Frank Anderson making the decision about how long you stick with the pitcher, and then who do you bring in, and do you bring in Kirby Connell just to face that lefty, or do you bring him in because you think he can finish the game with 3 innings? All those decisions, they've been remarkably good at that, and so I trust the bullpen a lot. The starting staff, and I've gotten to where I kind of trust Xander Seacrest, right?
Yeah, which is crazy.
Hard not to.
Yes.
So he was a guy that struggled to pitch 6 innings.
Yeah.
And now in recent starts, he's been going 6.
Started as your midweek starter.
Yep.
He even made a funny joke after winning Game 3 in the Super Regionals that it felt like a really solid Tuesday night game out there. Because that's, where he started his career at Tennessee on the mound as, that midweek guy.
Yeah.
Now he's your, Sunday kind of closer, game on the line, rubber match kind of guy.
One thing I did see that I thought was interesting, Florida State actually has a better team batting average than Tennessee. They're at 316. And I think they got more people that are, well, they're a similar amount of 300 hitters, but their batting average is a little bit better than Tennessee's. The big difference, though, in team ERA, Tennessee's team ERA is 1 run, a full run better than Florida State's.
Oh, wow.
Now, they have good pitchers besides Jamie Arnold, but they don't have the depth of the staff that Tennessee has. They don't have the bullpen as effective as Tennessee.
So is this going to be a defense or offensive game?
I think it's going to be a defensive game because I think Arnold is such a great pitcher. I don't expect – can Tennessee score 7 runs on this guy? Probably
I don't really
not.
know if he's really given that much up this season.
No.
Yeah.
So I don't see Tennessee scoring a lot. Can they get 3 or 4? Probably. Is 3 or 4 going to be good enough? Is Tennessee staff – will they be good enough to hold them to that amount? I think it's going to be a very intriguing game. I think it's going to be – by today's standards, low scoring now is 5-4, isn't it?
Which is crazy.
So
10 years ago, that was a great game.
Yeah,
Love
maybe 6-5 is low scoring now too.
Yeah.
But I don't see a whole lot of runs. I don't see Tennessee scoring a ton on a great pitcher, and while Florida State's got a great team batting average at 316, that's pretty good. I think Tennessee staff can hold them to less than 5, and if they do that, Tennessee's hard to beat. Isn't it interesting that the SEC has 4 teams in the College World Series? And how many does the ACC have? 4. So you've got all these teams from the South going to Omaha to play.
Yes, I saw a crazy map of that. It's like, oh, we're all here in this corner, and then Omaha is all the way over there. But, Vitello also talked a lot, too, about the NCAA storylines coming in to regionals from the start of the season, trying to get Southern Miss here. That happened. They wanted Wake Forest there. That didn't happen. And who's the first team that Tennessee faces? Oh, the head coach that sent Tennessee home in the Super Regionals in 2022, Link Jarrett.
He was at Notre Dame.
Yes, he was. And that's the coach that they'll face in their first game.
Yeah, isn't that odd?
Yeah, it's funny how that works out.
That's an interesting note. So maybe Tennessee's extra motivated by that.
Well, so far they're 2-0 against forced storylines.
Yeah.
What is a successful run for Tennessee and Omaha?
Well, I could say winning it all. I think if you get 2 wins out of there,
yeah,
it's just so darn hard to win the thing. Yeah. So if you get a couple of wins, I think you've represented. The thing that'll happen is if you've got 2 wins and you're in an elimination game and you lose 8-7, there's so many times you're going to say, if this, if that. There are going to be a lot of opportunities if you lose a close game like that.
The biggest thing that Vitello said was like, regardless of how much they win, if they lose right away, as long as they're true to themselves, they'll be happy. And I think when you get to those what if scenarios, like it's a 1-run game, I think as long as they are loose at the plate, they're true to themselves, and they don't get ahead of themselves, I think you have to walk away happy that you made it to Omaha and that it was a successful season regardless.
Yeah, and I think it is successful, but Tony set the table when he talked about success, and what he tried to do, in my opinion, was take all the pressure off of this team. And by saying, hey, we're playing with house money, but you're the no 1 seed. Oh, but the no 1 seed hadn't won since 1999. So I understand that mental mind game that he's playing, but I think that he's got a relaxed team. He's got a confident team. Now, I'll be wrong if they strike out 17 times against Florida State and get beat 8-1.
When they're not true to themselves, right? That's when you're upset and it wasn't successful because you weren't true to yourself. Everything that got you to this point, if you abandon it all of a sudden, I don't know, like then it's obviously not a successful outing. Like you weren't true to yourselves. You didn't play your best game. You didn't have your A moment at the right time. But if you do, then regardless of what happens, it's fine. But how many times can this Tennessee team catch lightning in a bottle? Almost feels like the pressure is there to, like you say, I guess, get a couple of wins. Maybe it's not a national championship, but the type of offense and the hitters and the pitching staff that he's had the last few years, I don't know how many more times you can replicate that.
I don't either, but while Tony Vitello was there, I mean, 3 World Series in 4 years. There are not a ton of programs that have done that. Certainly Tennessee has never done it. Tennessee had never been to back-to-back World Series. He is already, in my mind, the best baseball coach Tennessee's ever had.
Yes. Yeah, and they've got 6 top 100 prospects on the team right now, so.
And I am confident in his recruiting. I'm confident he's going to bring in more players in the portal. If he doesn't win it this year, he's going to keep knocking on the door, I think.
Yeah.
And continue
and
to have.
And that's kind of the best place to be.
Yeah. So
always in the conversation.
And a lot of people don't remember this about Pat Summitt, and I don't remember it either. But I was going to give it.
Give me a second.
I was going to give it an exact number. I think Pat Summitt, either AIAW or NCAA, went to about 5 or 6 Final Fours before she ever won one. People remember the 8 national championships.
But they're quick to forget that first part.
Yes, and so when the NCAA started in women's basketball in 1982, but she went to a couple of them after that I covered, and they didn't win it. And then they didn't win when they were in the AIAW. But she had some tremendous teams, and finally they broke through. And boy, once they broke through, look out, the floodgates.
Well, look what momentum can do, and I think that's a good message to Vol fans too, to also appreciate the moment that you're in.
Yeah.
Don't get too eager.
Yes.
Enjoy this moment because it's hard to come by.
Yeah, they are.
You're one of 8 teams. Yeah, it's hard to get to this point.
So it is hard to get to this point, and they are right now. Somebody asked me which Tennessee sport, because they won the All Sports Trophy 3rd year in a row. Which one has the best chance to win a national championship? Well, baseball.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, right now, how would you argue that one?
Rick Barnes might be chomping at the bit, but it's baseball right now.
It is. And then softball is, they've been to the Women's College World Series a number of times, and they've not carried the national championship banner back home yet. But to me, it's baseball, what Tony has done. Yeah. I think, and they've got a lot of great sports over there, but right now, as far as the ability to win it all, baseball would be number 1 on my list. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be in the air in 12 hours. So, connecting in LaGuardia, of course, because where else would Knoxville take me?
You got to go through LaGuardia to get to Omaha.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, right?
Gracious.
I just have to make a nice little triangle or carrot to get there, but should be a good time.
I think that what they need to do here at McGee-Tyson is, knowing that Tennessee is going to be in the College World Series on a regular basis.
They do it for basketball.
They need to line up some direct flights to Omaha.
Yeah. They add extra flights for, football. They do it for basketball. let's just add baseball to the schedule.
So you know they're going to go,
Yeah.
or they got a great chance, so you might as
Yeah.
well start lining some of those up and take care of people like you.
Yeah, 4-hour layover.
Oh,
so,
gosh.
movie recommendations will be nice. But anyway, Jimmy, it's always great having you over here, Sports Writer of the Year, and hopefully we'll have some more chats when we get back from Omaha.
Well, thanks, Paige. Appreciate it.